And David was the first Mormon of color that I knew. So I always pictured Mormon as white, corn-fed people that live in Utah. And when I met David in college, he is Latino, brown skin, ate tacos, very Mexican. And when
Doesn't
he
live
told
in
me,
Utah?
yeah, exactly, did not live in Utah.
Hi, welcome to Life Generally, hosted by me, Jen Lofstrom.
And me, Jen Tran.
We are Jen Squared, and this podcast is about life as a Jen.
Yay!
Hey Jen, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself, Jen?
It's going. Today was a very special day. I went to San Diego to see the Mormon temple.
Oh, I know that building. It's the big white, spiky, like castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it should be in Disney's Frozen. Yeah, it's gorgeous. How did you get an invitation to go? Because you're not practicing Mormon, right? So
Yes,
how did
I am
you
not
get to go?
Mormon. Yeah.
Right.
So my friend, he proposed me going to see this temple, right? Because it's typically not open to the public. And I said yes to going because obviously I'm unemployed. Why not? And
It's
also,
an adventure.
Yeah. And it's one of my closest friends. I've been friends with him for almost like 20 something years. So me and him are college buddies.
Yeah.
And he will be on the episode. This episode is Ask a Mormon. Yay!
I'm so excited to meet your friend David. I think that it'll be great to meet someone you've basically grown up with as an adulthood, right?
Yeah, he was at my wedding and everything.
And I went your wedding?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you guys go back. Yeah, that's awesome. How was he able to invite you to go to the temple if it's not generally something that you can visit as just a person in public?
So for this temple visit is because they did some remodeling for this temple in SD, right? And it's the temple that is off the 5 freeway when you're heading to UCSD.
Yeah.
And they closed that temple down for 3 years to remodel it. And they opened it up. So they finished remodeling and they only opened up as an open house to the public. So people of other religions or who are curious can go and visit. So they just opened it up for like 3 weeks to go, see what's the interior like. But honestly, there's a lot to unpack. And I did do some commentary stuff that will be in the subreddit whenever that gets published.
Well, why don't you introduce your friend and our guest so that way we can get moving?
So, besties, let's welcome David Pardo. Yay! Woot! So, a little context for you, besties. David and I have been friends for, is it almost like 20 years? 23? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So, he has been around through my seasons of life and seasons of friendship. And definitely David is a keeper. So... a friend.
Sounds like a roll dog. That's always good to have.
Yeah. And David was the first Mormon of color that I knew. So I always pictured Mormon as white, corn-fed people that live in Utah. And when I met David in college, he is Latino, brown skin, ate tacos, very Mexican. And when he told me,
Utah?
Yeah, exactly, did not live in Utah, and I believe he just came back from Missionary when he enrolled at Cal State Fullerton, and that's when I'm like, this guy's Mormon. Like I was so shocked. So yeah,
people surprise you. You can't follow stereotypes, JT.
Yeah, I guess I can't.
No.
Yeah, so that tells me a lot about the diversity about the Mormon Church, and. Yeah. Earlier today, me and David, or David and I, went down to the San Diego Mormon Church or Mormon
The
Temple,
Awesome.
and we got to take a tour of the area. So David has already been there a couple times just for the tour for the open house. And then he proposed like, "Oh, you should go." And I was like, "Okay." And then we went together today. So besties,
Rad.
if you want to hear about that experience, that will be on our Substack whenever that gets posted. So
I think it's cool that you guys got to go there. I always drove when I was a kid. I always thought it was like Jack Frost Castle, so it just looked like it was all frozen.
yeah, I asked David about the golden figure.
hmm
So David, could you explain the golden figure outside the church or on the top of the church?
Yeah, so that's Angel Moroni. And so Angel Moroni was a figure in the restoration in the church in regards to appearing to Joseph Smith, which started the process of the Book of Mormon. And there's a reference, I believe, in Revelation in regards to an angel playing a trumpet somewhere, and that's where that symbolism comes from. The
Awesome.
temples nowadays, newer ones, will no longer have the angel Moroni on top.
Oh, really? But they
Yeah.
kept that because they were just rebuilding this temple, right? So they were restoring the temple, so they kept it on
Yeah,
this one.
so
Yeah.
like the Los Angeles temple has it, the Salt Lake temple has it. And there's various ones that have it, but the new ones, they don't.
Which is kind of sad if it's like, it's a marker of your church. Like, you could tell a Catholic church, you could tell a Protestant church. Now it's like, I wouldn't be able to tell a Mormon temple or a church without that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even Google Maps, the icon for churches, it was a cross, and for the Mormon church, it was the angel Moroni on his trumpet. And then I think that changed last year, where it was
Oh,
changed to
wow.
crosses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something very interesting. So, okay.
Factoid.
Yeah.
Awesome.
'Cause do you know when your family converted to Mormonism?
I know it was my grandma. My mom was probably a teenager, and I know my grandma was searching for a church. So she went through various denominations, and in East LA is when they came across the Mormon missionaries, came inside, and little by little, the whole family joined. But yeah, my mom was a teenager, and she was like, "Oh, this feels right." So
Mm.
that's how it started.
So was your grandma like atheist, or it sounded like she was shopping for a religion, but couldn't find something
She
that,
was.
yeah.
Well, she was shopping, but as far as atheist, I wouldn't say atheist because she was shopping for a religion, but I'm not sure why she was,
Mhm.
but she was, and it was able to bring her kids with her.
Nice. Growing up, did your feelings like it reflected your culture, or did you feel like it was adapting to fit into a space that wasn't built with you in mind, like the churches of before?
I grew up in it from when I was little, meaning like in the Spanish congregation. I vaguely remember that. And there is different culture within the Spanish congregation versus the English congregation. And even currently,
Mhm.
my wife and I attend both Spanish congregations because it fits culturally more
Mhm.
as far as I want to say like the little things, food and just, being able to communicate, but it does feel more homey to
Mhm.
us and to her.
Mhm.
I started my mission Spanish speaking in Peru. And so there's a direct relation to feeling more connected in Spanish than in English, just because that's when I started my 2-year mission, and that was back in 2000 to 2002.
Mhm. And so was church done in Spanish, or was it hybrid?
No, well, I'm just giving a history. I started off in Spanish. Growing up,
Oh,
it
okay.
was English culturally. Yeah, I think regardless of how you attend, it's theology, and it's, there's a thing within church that they teach as far as being brown
Mhm.
is in the Book of Mormon. We're called Lamanites, and so the title of the Book of Mormon used to say that the Lamanites, or AKA Native Americans slash Latinos, were direct descendants from that book.
Mm-hmm.
And used to say principal ancestors, but they changed it to among the ancestors. So, because basically there's like no DNA evidence in regards to us coming from a specific origin. So
Mm-hmm.
now they changed the title page. And so I always identified as a Lamanite within the Book of Mormon people. And the church has always emphasized that as far as Lamanites, as far as the brown skin is a curse.
Well,
And it's weird, it's been something where that's what I've been told to identify as. And now it's like, is that really the case?
mm-hmm.
So it's questionable.
So what? So brown skin is a curse? That's what? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and the same way they say that in the same way they said other colors were a
A
curse.
curse. So I'm a
Yeah.
curse. People in
They-
Africa are a curse or whatever.
Yeah, so it's interesting the history's there, and then now the church, changes their position, and so it's questionable for sure.
So when did they change their position? Was it recent or was it like 25 years ago?
Oh, and this is in 1978.
Oh, so it's fairly like back. It's about like,
Yeah, that's the year I was born. So
I was gonna say that's pretty much our lifetime.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
interesting. So was there a moment when you first noticed that Mormons were in pop culture or in the media basically meant whitewashed suburbans? Like, how did that, when you first saw that, did that kind of match your experience, like, of what the Mormon experience is?
no, again, started off in Spanish when I was a kid. Growing up in Walnut, it was pretty diverse. So my surroundings was different cultures. There was a majority that were Caucasian, but in the end, I think there's an urban shock when you go to Utah and it's different. You don't have that diversity, but overall, I didn't have that experience just because I didn't live in Utah.
Have you been to Utah?
Yeah, I've been to Utah a few times
Mm-hmm.
and or other states, but in Utah, there's people that definitely get a culture shock when they go to BYU or something and they're like, and they feel like they don't fit in.
Yeah. So, what are the actual rules around the word of wisdom, like coffee, alcohol, etc.? And where do people draw their personal line?
That's a good question. I think the word of wisdom, and initially as a history, it was a recommendation. So when it came out by Joseph Smith, it wasn't a rule.
Mm-hmm.
It was a recommendation. It was changed. It wasn't changed with Brigham Young. It was changed, forget which president of the church, where he had it as a requirement to, hey, you need to follow the word of wisdom to be able to be in good standing as a member. And then it became a question that was necessary to be able to enter the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So it was weird to see that change over time
Mm-hmm.
in the history. And you had different views on, oh, it's caffeine or it's coffee, but in the end, it's just been strong drink, technically.
Oh.
Coffee and tea
But-
are strong drinks?
You know what I'm saying? That was the initial definition.
Oh, okay. Oh, got it.
Strong drink. And so strong drink at that time could have meant something different than what it, maybe we call it alcohol. Not sure. But I'm just saying the actual words. Now the church says, hey, alcohol.
Okay.
Huh.
Let's see. Personal lines, you can say cough syrup. That's not a thing. Cough syrup has alcohol.
Yeah, that's like if you have tiramisu, it usually has a little bit of cooked with alcohol Kahlua. So
Yeah. Growing up, whenever we were sick, my mom gave us a certain type of herbal tea. So does that count as tea or not? I don't know. So that was kind of like that gray area of certain people drinking green tea or whatever type of teas. And even I never knew what iced tea was as a kid. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're drinking iced tea. Like,
Had you had coffee then? Or you never had
I,
coffee?
it's not that I don't like it.
Okay.
Growing up as a kid, my cousins, very little, like five, like we were drinking coffee, and that was normal.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't like the taste, and they would add milk and make it like instead of a dark
The black
color, they'd
coffee,
make
yeah.
it like, you know, kind of like a creamy color. It would look desirable, and I would try it, and I just never liked it.
Mm. I feel like you're missing out on the coffee experience. Like, I had to grow to like coffee. Even though Vietnamese coffee, when I was a kid,
Oh man, that's so strong.
yeah, it was so
It's
good when I was a kid.
It's sweet too. Yeah.
And then like because what, like 15 years ago, coffee snobs, like when a Starbucks was coming up and then the invention of coffee snobs started coming in. I don't know. I think I have to say the last 5 years, maybe the last 3 years is when I finally joined the coffee snob train of liking coffee, even though I can't have too much of it.
Gotcha.
So that's why I'm all like, oh, there's so many interesting things to do with coffee. And therefore, you haven't had tiramisu then.
No.
Oh, all the goody Italian foods. Desserts.
Yeah, it's, definitely you never had that.
It's kind of mushy, so if it's you're not. Some people would say you're not missing out. I'd rather have a cannoli than tiramisu, personally.
Gotcha. But one thing that's interesting is I went to Guatemala with my wife in April, and they grow a lot of coffee over there.
Yeah.
And it was cool to go to a coffee plantation, and they show you the process, and like got to chew on, like actually pick
Coffee bean.
what's not ripe or
Uh-huh.
ripe from the trees. And I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
I think if I lived in Guatemala and like you're getting it straight from there, I would probably drink coffee.
That's like the most snobby you could be, Jen.
Yeah, I know, right? But like,
it's like, as long as I'm next to the crops, I can have it.
yeah, I know who grew my crops. Or type
Yeah,
of deal.
exactly.
Yeah. So, what does tithing actually look in practice? Is it a strict 10%, or is it kind of loosely pay as you go contribution, or what is it like?
That's honestly up to the person.
Mm-hmm.
The guideline is 10%. Some you can say it's net, you can say it's gross in the end, you can say it's surplus. In the end, it's up to you to decide what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, the initial tithing was surplus. It wasn't 10%, it was surplus.
Oh.
What
And
is
then
surplus? What do you mean by surplus?
just what you can give.
Extra funds.
So you got a bonus of a 10% bonus from your job. You have an option to like, okay, I'll just give that to the church. 10%.
No, I'm saying
Or
like,
whatever
when
you
the-
have.
Yeah, when
Oh,
the church,
okay.
yeah, when the church was first established, that's what it meant, tithe, what
Mm.
you can. And there's the bishop's storehouse where it could have been, hey, I have 100 chickens, and I can give you 5 chickens. Like it literally used to be a trade almost.
Oh, wow.
And that changed specifically, and I don't remember what year, where it changed to 10%.
Interesting.
And yeah, that history is interesting for sure. So then that makes you think, because everybody identifies, and if you ask anybody about tithe, that means, oh, it's in the Bible. That means they had to give 10%. Well, it wasn't for us when it first started. So was it any different, or was it the same, in the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's true. A lot of different churches outside of LDS and everything, they also tithe too. So it's something that's pretty common through a lot of Christianity and different religions like that. So
Mm-hmm. How are kids taught about the church history, like Joseph Smith, polygamy, the move to Utah, and at what age?
That's a good question. Recently, as in maybe last year, or they started to introduce teaching the concept of polygamy to kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they even edited that book or animation, and they cut it down quite a bit from what they originally published. Let's just say it was 2 years ago. I don't know. As a kid, you weren't taught that. I remember as a teenager, even as an adult, when there would be discussion within church that polygamy happened or didn't happen, you had some hardcore members like, oh, it didn't happen, it didn't, because it wasn't taught.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was kind of taught as in Brigham Young, but people would debate about Joseph Smith
Mm-hmm.
and polygamy. There's kind of something called the everlasting covenant that's found in the Doctrine and Covenants. And so it's kind of, there's confusion about it. But as far as being taught as a kid, yeah, you weren't taught. Now it's officially taught.
Hmm. That's
Do you
very
think that's taught now because of the way that there's been more like probably fundamental Mormon who are polygamists on TV and different reality shows?
That's a good question because it is very new. That might be the case. I don't know. I know the church released something called Gospel Topics, and basically that it's to address any type of questions or history that is questionable as far as official statements from the church, and one of them was polygamy as well.
Oh,
So those who, and it's interesting now because now you have a few people who can say or try to say that polygamy didn't happen as far as with Joseph Smith, as far as Emma Smith, Joseph Smith's wife. Yeah,
Mhm.
she denied it. Hiram Smith denied it. Emma Smith's son denied it. And the revelation that came out as far as polygamy in the Doctrine and Covenants came out, I don't know how many years later after Joseph Smith died. And so there's a gap of information.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I wish it was clear, and it's not.
Interesting. So, what age do you start doing, I guess, Bible camp or Mormon school then, or attended Mormon school?
I know they do that in high school, and it's called seminary, and that was before school.
yep.
Um,
Hmm.
I had trouble going, so maybe one that's early,
Yeah.
you know.
We had an LDS church by my high schools, and we would see the kids go there and then afterwards walk back, and I'd just be like, man, how they are up early and they're not drinking coffee. I don't know how they do it, but you're dedicated. That's how they get it.
Yeah, that's true. As a kid,
Yeah.
Starbucks wasn't around, but yeah, they were up early. That wasn't me.
That's kind of crazy that I guess Bible study started in high school because like Bible study for me started maybe when I was 5 years old, and like you go through Sunday school camp, and we didn't need to wake up early, but crock dawn to go. But I thought in my head I'm all like thinking like, oh, you guys are probably like 5 years old going to Bible study.
Oh,
Well,
when
they-
you say Bible study or Bible camp, you think
Yeah.
of something specific, whether it's at church or not, something separate. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No, I had Sunday school, which is Bible study.
Oh,
So
Sunday school then would be, yeah, when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But as far
I
as
went with my neighbors to Sunday school sometimes at their temple or their ward. So yeah, and there was kids lessons, and so the adults would sit and still do their service, but the kids usually went and did something else.
yeah, so in the history of the church, I don't know how far, because it used to be 3 hours. It used to be
Wow.
sacrament, then it used to be Sunday school for everybody,
Mhm.
and then it would be the last hour was it would be separated into women and men.
Mhm.
But kids were still together in, I guess you can say, a camp. And then that changed to 2 hours. But I don't remember if it was 50 years ago or more, where you had to go to church 3 times, like 3 different blocks.
Oh my gosh.
And then they changed it to 3 hours, and then they changed it to 2 hours. And recently in September,
Uh-huh.
that second hour is now changed to 25 minutes Sunday school. Instead of being an hour like every other week, now it's going to be 25 minutes every Sunday, and then 25 minutes separated by men and women. So we'll see that change in September coming up.
Is it because people have short attention spans, or is it just people like, oh, I have other priorities type of deal?
Yeah, that I don't know the why.
That's crazy. Like, don't get me wrong, 3 hours at church, like dedicating 3 days for just church activities is one thing. because that's a lot. 3 hours. At first, I was like, 3 hours. That's a lot. And
It
then
was a lot.
now you're like 25 minutes. I'm like, 25 minutes. That's like,
Well, it'll still be an hour like for the service still too, but then 25
Correct.
minutes for
Yeah, the sacrament will still be 1 hour, but the
Mhm.
second hour will be divided by 25-minute Sunday school and then 25-minute separated between men and women.
I don't know. That's
I think that's modern. I know a lot of different faiths and churches who are doing less is more, because they want to fit in with what's happening in society and stuff. Like
Mhm.
if you said I go to church for 3 hours or I go to church 3 times a week for 3 hours, people look at you like you're crazy.
yeah.
So that's a big commitment.
So what's the actual process like? This is missionary work, okay? So how old were you when you went and did missionary, and where was your mission located? And you mentioned Peru, and how was it done?
Yeah, so 19 is when you're expected.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say, expected, that you go on a mission as a young, worthy male. And so when I think I turned 19 or 18, I was asked, do I want to go on a mission? And I said no.
Really?
Oh yeah, I said no, absolutely.
Oh wow. Okay, that's wow. What? Okay.
That was my initial response.
Mhm.
And the process, and it was weird. You saw other people, wait, I don't want to say their dream, but they wanted to serve the mission. And I did just never, I don't want to say it didn't cross my mind. It's just, I didn't know what my beliefs were.
Mhm.
It's like, yes, I went to church, I enjoyed it, but not enough to be like, I want to go teach this if I don't really know what I believe at that time.
Mhm.
So my bishop, when he asked me, I originally said no.
Mhm.
And then he responded with, okay. And then he explained the process because that was the start. Hey, do you want to go? Yes or no? I said no. And then he explained the process. Okay, this is what we do. We do interviews. What else do we do? So it's with the bishop and then stake president. And then you send your papers or like an application and you
Mhm.
send it to Salt Lake. And then they review it, respond, and then they either say you can go or they don't.
Mhm.
Never really heard stories of people being denied, but at the time the bishop's like, how about, are you okay with starting the process and see what happens? And you might get denied. Well, okay, fine, sure. And so wasn't expecting anything. And then it was like a couple months later, and it's like I get a letter in the mail, envelope after doing the process as well, as far as the interviews and stuff.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, you've been called to serve in Lima, Peru. Spanish speaking. I had no idea where Lima, Peru was.
Uh-huh.
But I remember in the application, you can put what languages you speak, and you can kind of put a preference of where you want to go.
Mhm.
I don't think I put a location at that time, but I did say Spanish speaking, and so I think that might have influenced going to a Spanish speaking country.
Mhm. So you did have a say where you wanted to go. Like, let's say you wanted, like, no, I want to do missionary work in San Diego.
Yeah, you can put your desire,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
99.99% that doesn't mean anything.
So
Yeah,
if you so putting Spanish speaking, open blanket, where you could send me type of deal. This is what you did a little bit.
yeah, so I was surprised. I know there's something in the church is called a patriotical blessing,
Mm-hmm.
where you get a blessing, that's supposed to inspire you, and some people get it at a younger age, and they think they're going to serve a foreign country because that's what their blessing said,
Mm-hmm.
and then they don't get called over there. And so it's interesting to see that process as well. But now the process today is they changed it to 18, and only last year, um, women used to be, but they minimum age used to be 21, and now it's dropped to 18.
Oh, okay.
So that was very recent, as of this year or last year.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
of my high school teachers, they are women that went on missions into South America because they both speak Spanish.
Okay.
So that was cool. But I didn't realize they had to be 21 when they did that. So that's
It's for females, it was
yeah,
21.
yeah,
For males, it was 19.
Yeah.
So who pays for you to go on mission? Is it your family or is it the church?
It could be a mixture of one or the other or both. It could be you, it could be your family, it can be partial church. It's dependent on each situation, but for the most part, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know when I served my mission, people that went on their missions, they didn't have funds to go.
Yeah.
And so the church helped and paid. I don't know if it was all,
Mm-hmm.
but even now today, there's a mixture. Like when you pay tithing, there's a slip where you can check off, do you want to pay tithing or do you want to pay money toward an anonymous missionary fund?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe those funds come from there.
Mm. How long did you serve on missionary?
For males, it's 2 years, and for females, it's a year and a half. So I
Okay.
served too.
Okay. Did you successfully convert anyone?
There was a good handful. Yeah, I don't remember if it was a dozen or so people for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as I remember names and faces, I don't remember the actual number. I have it in a journal somewhere.
Did
Okay.
you live like on the premises or with families in the area as a missionary?
As a missionary, we had our own apartments.
Oh, okay.
So it was basically like renting a room with access to a bathroom. No, no kitchen, yeah. That's really what
And
it was
like
renting a room.
dormish probably too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you were a missionary, I'm pretty sure you met some women, older women, on the way. Do you know, like, did you guys do the same things? Like, go door to door, or was there certain functions that you guys do very differently between men and women when you guys are on missionary?
The function itself is the same. It's teach and invite. The only difference is the ordinance itself of baptism. You have to have the priesthood, and the priesthood is held by men only.
Hmm.
But
So
in that
women just
aspect,
bring people and they have to wait for a male to do the rites, the
to
baptism
do the
rites.
ordinance
Yeah.
of baptism. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But I think at that time, I don't know how it is now, but I'm pretty sure it's the same as far as like you have to do an interview
Mm-hmm.
before getting baptized. And I think that's also done by men.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also probably the same. But I know before when you got baptized, you're supposed to have two witnesses,
Mm-hmm.
like just, hey, fill out that you're a witness. Before that was male also. I don't know if it was like I don't know how many years ago. It's been a while, or maybe 10, I don't know, where they changed that women can now serve as witnesses to baptisms. And that was a big deal. That was a big deal for women, for people who either wanted change or were against change.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big deal.
Oh, go women! Finally being able to
It
be in the room.
it sounds like it was a big shift, but
It
there's
was.
there's a lot of churches of different denominations who they are still voting on that kind of stuff, and if they can serve or any of those kind of things. So I think it's a really just a kind of a evolving with a lot of churches.
Yeah, I would agree.
So the places where you stayed at did you have female roommates or is it just male on your flat, and then the women had to live in a separate building and it's just females?
So you pretty much lived in your area. Once in a while, yeah, you were combined with other missionaries, but yeah, it was never combined men and women. It was always been men and females.
Okay, so there was no intertwining of
No,
living quarters.
of living quarters, no.
So then I'm just wondering, like, how did you did you learn how to cook when you were a missionary? I can barely imagine you're like this 19-year-old kid, right? You're probably used to mom's cooking. Now you're in a country that you don't know really. Did you figure out how to cook, like become an adult type of deal?
The different countries, different missions have different rules. I know we had something called a pensionista. I
What's
don't know what
that?
that means in English. but it's basically somebody who provides meals for you.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We had a designated location of one person. It was kind of weird because, like here in the U.S., you can feed the missionaries, like you can invite them for dinner or whatever. But over there at the time, I remember it changed. They're like, if a family invites you to dinner, like you have to refuse because people were getting sick.
Oh, okay.
And so it was weird to tell people no, but yeah, eventually we still did, even though we weren't supposed to.
So you probably had like the best meals of these families.
Oh, that part, they're like, oh, hey, can we do it? And like at first, I was a stickler, like, no, we're not supposed to. And then, other people with experience, like, dude, you're fine. Okay.
Nice. So, what was your typical day when you're out in the field then?
You try to make appointments, obviously, for the day before you try to plan ahead, whether it's meeting with they were called investigators. I don't know if that's still the term now. Basically, people you go visit who are non-members, but it was also a lot of collaborating with members, trying to honestly gain their trust, help them, because you're trying to strengthen both the church and not just invite. Because sometimes it would suck if you bring a new person who's thinking of coming to church, they come to church, and then there's no relationship with anybody. Like especially if you're new, like say if you're a companion and you're new, sometimes it feels like you're alone. And
Yeah.
so you always try to establish that relationship, good relationship with members within that location so that when you bring somebody, it's already kind of like a no given, like, hey, this is this. And so trying to develop a community within each area was important for sure.
Mm. So, are you considered an elder at this point?
Yeah, so the title, like on the name badge that you see people with the black, for men it's called elder. So I was Elder Pardo. For sisters, or for females, it's called sister.
Uh-huh.
But sorry, back to your question earlier. When there was nothing to do, that's when you knocked on doors.
So, are you saying the local Mormons who come to my doorstep, they have nothing to do, so they're just knocking on doors to build relationships?
Yes. And meaning that they don't have appointments, whether with members or non-members. All right, we have free time. Let's go knock on doors. Because, there's statistics as far as like the percentage of a member giving you a reference. That's what they were called, references, referencias, versus knocking on the door. Like the percentage of somebody getting baptized by knocking on their door versus getting a reference, there's a huge difference. And so in that time, it wasn't, I don't want to say frowned upon knocking doors, but that's something you did when, you didn't have anything else going on. So does that apply today? I don't know. I know it's kind of interesting. I've met, like when you go to church and you meet new people, and I always ask, even now, I'm like, hey, how'd you hear about the church? How'd you get invited? And they would say, oh, I got a Facebook ad. And they clicked it and they physically came to church. Who knows how much later, but it was crazy to see that, Facebook can be used as a tool and people actually come. I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is dead interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's like technology is, brings different ways of finding people.
Definitely.
You said that you were dedicated for the area. Did you have other peers with you?
You're right. Sorry. Yeah. So in each mission, there's a calling or a role that somebody has called a missionary leader. And their job is to assist to bridge that gap between members and missionaries. And so a lot of times in every location, they would accompany us maybe once or twice during the week in the evening as we would talk with investigators or visit other members. And so that was a huge role, was missionary leader, and that still applies today.
Okay, so we're going to talk about marriage, dating, and interfaith relationships. So can a Mormon marry someone outside the faith? And if so, does it change how the marriage is viewed within the church? So you married a Catholic. right? Does that change like the perspective of your fellow Mormon community members knowing that this lady that you married is a Catholic?
I would say there is some stigmatism to that for sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's also based on people can either be accepting or not accepting,
Mm-hmm.
um, whether it's different states or countries. But as a whole, it's, you have the ability to choose, and it's recommended, obviously, by leaders at the top to marry within the church. And if you don't, it's not technically frowned upon,
Mm-hmm.
but but there's been talks within the church, and it's like, oh, um, your marriage isn't. And it's been interesting when you hear talks as far as like, oh, and a marriage is unsuccessful because you didn't marry within your church.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in the end, it's going to be up to you.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that a lot of churches will have that kind of, or faiths will have, like, they say if it's evenly yoked, or which means that people are the same religion. I know that in the Jewish faith, there's a lot of, it's harder to bring someone in who was not
Jewish.
born Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
They can convert, but so I know that it kind of is the same kind of, I think that's a reality within any of the other religions. Like, you can bring in people who are different faiths, and then, but it depends on where you live, how modern the place is, and how open your ward is.
Yeah, I agree. I remember I was in my 20s dating someone who was not of the faith, and there was this guy at church who, for years, and still is a good standing member. His wife never joined.
Mm-hmm.
I think I asked him one time because somehow it always kind of come up in question, like he was known as a guy that doesn't have isn't married or married someone outside the church.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sucked because he was known like that. But I remember asking him, like, hey, I'm having a debate. I married somebody who's not the same faith. What do you recommend? And it's like, do you regret marrying your wife, knowing that she was never going to join the church? And he's like, I don't regret it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that being, I don't want to say I enjoyed that response, but it was just like, oh, she's a human being and I love her. And yes, we can have our differences, but it doesn't mean I regret it.
Mm. That's really cool. Like, he has
It
the
was good.
maturity of that, not the peer pressure of like the whispers of he's not married within, you know?
Yeah. So and I think it caught me off guard because I think I was expecting her thinking like, oh yeah, I wish I was a member and I wouldn't have. No, he gave me his honest response, and then I was like, oh, okay.
So typically I see, okay, there's two religions, right? Like the male, let's say, is Mormon. The female, let's say she's Lutheran. The female typically is the one that gets to control the children's upbringing for religious studies. So therefore, she's going to propose the children be raised Lutheran. How does that, like, what is that like in the church? Like, knowing that, you married this woman, have children. Because I'm just saying, like, in a sense of, like, love is love. You married this person regardless of religion and stuff. And now that you have children, that, there's internal fighting of, like, child rearing of, like, well, I'm insisting that the child should be raised of my religion type of deal. Like, have you ever discovered that? Like, seen that?
Based on experience, seeing kids following their mom more than their dad.
Yeah.
But every situation is different among different families.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have friends from high school who are, the wife is, I think she's Baptist, and husband is Mormon, and they were together since high school, and they actually teach both religions, and their kids attend both schools with, like, or services for both of those for their own faith, so that way then it will become their choice what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think overall it becomes their choice.
Yeah. This is responsible parenting. I applaud them. But dang, those are long days. long church days on the weekends.
Yeah, I think they ended up like they would just like every other week they would go to one service or the other because like I couldn't imagine taking your kids to 2 services a day on a Sunday or something. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 hour church for the
Yeah,
Mormon,
oh no.
2 hours
Yeah.
for somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's the difference between getting married in the temple versus getting married a wedding or versus a regular wedding ceremony? And what does the distinction matter so much to families?
The difference is the temple is where you get sealed through the priesthood in regards to being sealed for eternity, versus in the chapel isn't what the priesthood, it's more of a legal
Mm-hmm.
um wedding. So if you would say a religious wedding within the church, it's within the temple. If it's in a chapel, then that's more of a legal marriage than it is a religious marriage.
So, when do you have to wait? Okay, like you got married in the chapel. Is that the next level up, getting married in the temple, or can you just get married in the temple?
Yeah, you can get married in the temple directly.
Mm-hmm.
Different countries had different rules.
Mm-hmm.
Different countries, you have to get married legally and then go get married in the temple. In the US, you can just get married. Oh, I think in the US, you still have to actually
Yeah, you
physically.
have to sign a copy of a marriage license. Yeah.
But uh, the difference, if you get married, let's say in a Mormon chapel, yeah, then technically it's still the standard till death do your part, versus in the temple, it's for time and all eternity.
Time in all eternity with this one person.
I think that's romantic.
Is it?
Yeah.
Even the Greek gods couldn't even make it through eternity with the one spouse.
True.
What happens when you fall in love with someone who isn't interested in converting? But is that a deal breaker conversation when that comes up early in a relationship, or like how would you handle that?
It was a deal breaker for me in a very different occasions, relationships I've had.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, yes, I like you, I love you, but I'm Mormon and I'm gonna get married Mormon. Like, I remember I even took an ex to the Mormon temple. I'm like, hey, I know we have our differences, but look at this building, that's where I'm gonna get married.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you're not gonna change that. And so, I think that's when I had that question that I asked, like, hey, like, I'm dating someone that's a non-member. Should I? And I didn't ask what I should do. I was just like, hey, what did you do?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a difference between marrying the right person versus trying to marry someone with your religion who's not the right person.
Mm. Is that a hot tip, or is this words of wisdom?
I think that's just me, because
Yeah.
I have an aunt who married a non-member, and I don't know if it was like 15 years or 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I don't want to say he didn't get converted, but he supported her.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a good 15, 20 years where and I don't know what, made the light switch go off and he converted, but that was a long 20 years. And they have an example of a marriage that is a good one,
Mm.
but she could have lost that by saying, oh, you're not Mormon, bye.
Yeah.
It was interesting because that was her third marriage.
Was it a third marriage? I thought Mormonism frowned upon divorce.
Yeah, I don't know if it's frowned upon. If you're not in a good
Marriage, then it's
situation, you shouldn't
just
be in it.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not taught or maybe it used to be, but yeah, it's not taught like, hey, once you're married and then that's it. No, you have to be in the right situation regardless of who or where you are or with.
That is very interesting. I find that very interesting in a way. Like, oh, okay. So next topic is gender and family roles in Mormon life. So can you walk us through how gender roles were explained to you growing up at the church, at home, and in scripture lessons?
I think in the early 70s, or maybe even before that, probably to the late 70s, gender roles were women should, be proper housewives and um, stay-at-home moms. Like there were talks within church, but this is prior to the 70s
Mm-hmm.
where, women were a harm to a family if they went to college while they were married. It was interesting to see that change over time.
Mm-hmm.
So me growing up, I didn't see that, but there was still, oh no, I would say growing up, there would be talks as far as the gender role. Should be home baking cookies. So when your husband gets home, he has a nice full, stomach.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, so the gender role, I think, is still there.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as getting an education, now it's like, oh, hey, get an education in case something happens. What if you get divorced? You're not by
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And so now there's this reliant or self-reliance taught on various levels for both roles, or before it was just for males.
So they are pro self-reliance to both genders.
Now it is, yes.
That's great. That's
But there
like,
was definitely a transition for sure.
yeah. And how about your scripture lessons? Was it the same thing like, oh, women should stay at home when you had scripture lessons?
Oh, that never came across as anything. That was for everybody.
Okay. Um, is there room within the faith for a woman to push back on her decisions her husband feels strongly about? And what does that actually look like?
That's going to be dependent on the family. Um, you were taught,
Mm-hmm.
the men are the patriarch of the home and head of household. And there used to be, and this is interesting, in the temple. I don't know if it was taken out in the 90s or it was definitely prior to the 90s, where one of the things you promised was to obey your husband,
Mm-hmm.
and they took it out. And not sure what caused that change, but like, now, like, oh, if you had a promise to obey your husband at all costs, it's like that's not gonna fly.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I don't remember if it was something from heaven or something where the husband killed his wife. Like there's many stories of Mormon husbands killing their wife and overall true crime stories of the husband killing their wives in general. So, I think maybe the Mormon church recognizes this type of crisis that's happening. Even so, it still is happening across the board, religious, non-religious, whatever, that the husband is plotting murder of the wife type of deal. And it's kind of nice to like what you just said, like, oh, because they're trying to modernize. It's like saying like, yeah, the female's life is worth something. We need to try to figure out how to protect this person, like if there's some type of like mental health issue going on with her husband because of whatever reason. But yeah, I kind of like that. Like in a sense, like, yeah, you definitely protect your people, man. Like particularly the female gender.
Yeah, I think it was interesting growing up. There was a family friend who got married, and yeah, he told her you can't have friends, you can't, and she obeyed everything to the T. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, it, and I forget someone recently, I think it was a year ago,
Uh-huh.
we were just talking to somebody who wasn't married, and he's like, oh yeah, I want a wife who's absolutely obedient to me.
Why?
What?
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if that was because this person's been raised his entire life in that type of rhetoric outside or within the church. But I remember thinking like, that's not normal.
Yeah. Wow.
Even as a Mormon, that's not normal,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
So, how about single Mormon women, divorced, never married widow? Do they get to talk about or get treated differently within the ward culture?
I would say generally no. Yeah, I would say generally no. As far as being different because you're single or divorced or yeah, widowed. I would say in general, based on experience, I would say no. Does it happen? Probably. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But from personal experience, mainly depended if you were a good person or not.
Mm-hmm.
When I became a single mom, I went to a neighbor invited me to like a Lutheran church, and I felt like it felt like I was a meat market. Like I was like, oh, there's the single mom who we can like. Everyone wanted to like talk to me, and then like people were saying, oh, this guy's single, you should talk to him, and I'm just like, I literally just came in this church today, so it was overwhelming for me. But I think that it just depends on the church and the people.
Yeah, does that happen, what you said? Oh yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, trying to set him up. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like it's all of a sudden just like a dating match, like way before online dating. So it's funny.
Yeah, I got married when I was 44. Uh, I, if there was a hot single mom, like, hello, hey, whether they were divorced or, whatever, if they were available.
Mm.
Yeah.
Were you ever taught anything explicitly about a wife's role versus a husband's role in conflict, finances, and discipline?
I think it was a mixture of earlier, like, hey, you're kind of taught, men have the final say and this and that. But I think going back, I don't know, that was just unofficial,
Mm-hmm.
People expressing their expressions, um, compared to like over the pulpit as far as official church statements. But as far as finances, it it's going to be dependent on the family, really, individual choices.
Mm. Okay. So we're gonna be on topic about Mormons in the media. Have you watched shows like The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? What do they get right about Mormon culture, and what do they get completely wrong about it?
I have not seen it, so I cannot comment.
So, Jen, can you describe a scene or something to David?
From The Secret, I have only watched a couple episodes of that. The one that I watch more of is Sister Wives, but that's the fundamental Mormons. But basically, it's just they're a lot more liberal with everything. Like they're drinking, they're, gossiping. It's basically like a Desperate Housewives or like all the other like Real Housewife shows, but it's within in Utah with Mormon wives. Is that a good rundown of it, Jen?
I'm
I
I'm
guess.
assuming, yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
is.
I think if
You
there are a bunch
have,
of desperate housewives, or the wives of OC drinking
Yeah.
and partying and switching husbands, like that's.
Oh yeah, there is like some whole weird like swapping thing in the show.
And in the
I
show, these women are young. They're like in their 20s, like it's like spring break. You're a married woman and it's fun times. Like,
I just think that that's like if you're on a reality show and you're a female, you're kind of expected to be that way in a lot of ways. If you're just like, unless you're watching like Amish life, there's not it's not exciting for quote unquote exciting for people.
mhm.
Like, it's not going to get the ratings if everybody's just like learning how to crochet. But I would say any religion probably doesn't want their members doing the things these ladies are doing. But
Mhm.
is it because they're Mormon? I don't think that that's the case. I think it's more of just like people who are getting paid to be on television and have too much money and too much free time and ego kind of stuff.
yeah, I think there's a spectrum. Yeah, a spectrum of a term. I don't know if you guys have heard it before, called Molly Mormon. Basically, that's a female who follows all the rules.
Mhm.
For a male, it's called Peter Priesthood, follows all the rules. But in reality, 0 to 10, 10 would be a Molly Mormon, Peter Priesthood, 0 would be not following any rules. Pretty much every member falls in between that range of things they should be doing and things they shouldn't be doing. And I think those shows basically illustrate, even though I haven't seen it,
Mhm.
is that there's people in that range, maybe on the lower end of that range, that exist and that are Mormon.
Mhm. Is there a difference in how Mormons in the culture gets portrayed compared to other religious communities on reality TV, like the Duggars or Sister Wives. I associate polygamy with Mormonism. I don't associate polygamy with Catholicism, Lutheranism, Calvinism,
Okay.
all that stuff. Like, what's your take on that?
I think there's a lot of confusion that's out there. Even as a kid, I remember people like, "Oh, you're Mormon. You must have, your dad must have a lot of wives." Like I heard that, I don't know how many times as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a substitute teacher in class one time. And he's like, they were talking about stuff, and he asked, "Is there any Mormons in this class?" And that was probably like third grade, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only one. I didn't raise my hand. He's like, "Okay, good. There's no Mormons in here because my neighbor's a Mormon and he has a lot of wives."
Oh, that's not appropriate in any level.
No.
And I'm like, really? We're in school? But in the end, it's just like, again, it was a conception of, but in the end, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, doesn't practice polygamy, but there was the sect when not plural, polygamy was introduced. It was introduced as a pristine covenant that will never be taken away from the earth. Like literally, that's what it says, never be taken away. And so when that change came, there was a lot of people that didn't like that change.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Hey, like this is something that was promised, from God to never change, and now you're changing it." And so those people are the ones who, and I don't know the history specifically, but that's where that, I don't want to say the start or the rhetoric of the fundamentalist Mormons who practice polygamy,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's where that origin comes from.
Mm.
So when you see Warren, what was his name?
Warren Jeffs.
Yeah, Warren Jeff and that whole history, the fundamentalist members, they get associated because, yeah, at one time it was, and that became a sect that broke off from the church. But it's considered Mormons because the Mormons did do that in the early history.
So has the Mormons tried to shut that down, though?
Oh, yeah, they did that in the 1800s. So there was a declaration issued as far as not that plural marriage had ended,
Mm-hmm.
but there was still a lot of members that still continued. And then they came out with I don't recall if it was the second declaration or not, or it was more serious, where they're like, "Oh, if you practice, you're going to be excommunicated."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was a big deal, and it was, I don't know. There's a lot of controversy in regards to the why. Like, why was it promised as something that would never go away, and now there's a change? Was it a political pressure? Was it in the end? Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But
I heard part of that was
reason.
because of the basically the United States wasn't going to allow Utah to be a state if they practice Mormonism in the state. But
yeah, that could have been the reason. But the church is not going to tell us.
Right.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Because that was the reason.
Right.
No, say, "Oh, God said."
Yeah.
God said so. That's it.
Interesting. Okay. Have you heard of Mom Talk? Like TikTok?
No.
Mom Talk. It's basically mom influencers, right? There's a lot of the culture of the mom influencers borrowing from Mormon culture, like pioneer times,
like trad wife kind of stuff.
Super trad wife, but to an extreme of like they're sending it back to pioneer times. Like influencer called Ballerina Farms. She lives in this huge farm with her rich husband, whose dad is the CEO of, some airplane company, and they have the money to live a very modern life, but she chooses, or she shows content that, pioneer life is great. Making bread, which don't get me wrong, I do make my own bread when it's successful, but more time and time again, it's not successful when I make bread from scratch of this type of aesthetic. What do you think about that?
What do I think of Mom Talk as far as people trying to do things with less conveniences.
Yes.
I, that could be just something they want. I don't know if I have an opinion on it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everything on TikTok's a trend or something. Of there's it just that's up to the people and their family, but also they have to decide if that's really true for them or if they're just doing it because it's a fad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you just, but people change and grow too. So I don't know. I don't fully see the trad wife kind of dynamic working, at least in California, because if I wasn't working, I don't know how I would be making bills. So, and I don't bake. So I do make some good jello though. But
Has growing media attention changed how the church itself communicates publicly in your view?
I think it has. I think within the last, I don't know how many years, the church had this, hey, there's no apology in the Bible, so we're not going to seek or give apologies.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a rhetoric, meaning like, in the church, it's believed to have prophet and apostles. And if prophet says something wrong, then people will respond with, oh, that is a product of their time or their man, they're not perfect. But then there was an interesting situation recently, like this month or last month, where a church historian made a joke at the pulpit
Mm-hmm.
at a stake conference, I believe, that didn't sit well with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an apology letter, which normally doesn't happen, that was that was somehow uh, publicized because it got a lot of bad press, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was one of those like, oh, we got to fix something, put in a statement. That was surprising to me because I'm like, the church normally doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that, yeah, just recently, within the month, I think, or last few weeks, that happened.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like, whoa, church is issuing apology letters now? That's a big change.
I think any huge organization issuing apologies and they actually act on the apologies, that's a huge thing,
It was huge.
so
Yeah,
good on them for doing that.
I
yeah,
agree.
that's the evolution for sure.
Yeah. What's something that daily Mormon life that you think most outsiders just never thought to ask about?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, being inside the church, what would be a big thing? I think it's understanding the origin as far as the authority or the priesthood as far as what makes Mormon different than other churches. That's really the question that I think of. Because I asked myself that same question too, even as a member, what makes us different? Is our God different? Are we not? There was that huge political thing that happened recently, and that was within the last month where there were different categories of Christianity, and the Mormon Church wasn't listed
Oh,
as a
yeah.
Christian.
Oh, like
And
a
it got
denomination or something.
huge backlash from the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and church never gets involved in political, but this time they're like, oh, we're getting involved, and they were able to have I don't know, was it whoever issued it, they had them change it to now it says Christianity or Christian
Mm-hmm.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was like, whoa, like, you feel like we're just like this underdog, and they were able to get like the government to issue a different statement with a correction. That was interesting.
I was just thinking, I I know that generally speaking, LDS are encouraged to get married like within the church, at a church, or at a temple. But I have seen more people getting married outside. Has that shifted with the church?
I don't know. I don't think it shifted. I think
Okay.
just more people are more open to finding a better person for being a better person versus just someone that happens to be there in the church.
Oh no, I meant outdoors. Sorry, I'm getting married this year, so like I was just thinking about physical out. Like I used to know that like my friends, they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna get married in this temple," or I'm, like the Los Angeles temple, or different things like that. And then now they're like, I heard that like they could go outdoors and have like a ceremony outdoors, and I hadn't heard of that before.
Yeah, so there's always been I don't want to say to please, but as far as you can get married in the temple and you only have a temple worthy members who can attend your
Right.
temple. So if your family's not Mormon, they're not going to see you get married in the Mormon temple. And so they'll do something called a ring ceremony.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so it's basically just officiating a wedding outside of the temple, as far as like, hey, you have a union of two people, and that could be anywhere, indoors, outdoors. And that was popular for a while. Not in Utah. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what happens or doesn't happen in Utah, but I've seen many weddings like that too. They get married in the temple, they come back, and they do a ceremony for everybody to see.
That's nice. That's inclusive.
It is.
Yeah. And then you grew up in the faith. Was there ever a time where you looked at other denominations, or just you stayed with LDS?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't. I think that's where, when I was 19, I mentioned I was asking on a mission. I said no, because I was like, well, what do I believe? And I think when I asked, what do I believe? It really was, hey, do I believe what this church tells me? Do I believe what my own thinking? Do I believe maybe a different church? And that was, I don't know how long. It was several weeks of just asking and thinking and reading and researching. But yeah, I don't think I ever came across, well, it mainly due to exposure. Like,
Yeah.
never really been to any other church. So I don't want to say I kind of wish, but it'd be nice to have that exposure to other churches for sure.
Yeah, I grew up, my parents basically just more spiritual kind of hippies. So I was to rebel against my parents, I went to different churches because they didn't go to church. So I would, any of my friends that went to different churches or temples, or any Buddhist, Jewish, LDS, all Baptist, Pentecostal, I did it all. Like it just be, and to me that was really interesting, just to see differences between religions and different faiths. So that's why I was asking, because I basically church hopped a bunch.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
as a kid, or even until now, my dad's family, they're Catholic. So I grew up going to church mass when my dad would make us go.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but it was also always associated kind of like what you see like in movies, like you have somebody, does the communion and you
The
just
holiday kind of
cover.
official.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
been my only experience with that. In high school, people did something, I don't know if it was called CD or C
Yeah,
something,
that's
Oh,
yeah. The Catholic catechism. Yeah.
but I had a lot of friends who was like, oh, I'm going to,
yeah, that was the cool thing at
and
my
part of me,
school too.
it kind of felt like that. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a cool thing to do. And now, like, kind of part of me was like, I want to go do that. Only not because I wanted to. It's just everybody else was doing it.
You just wanted to hang out with your friends.
But I never went, so
Yeah.
never knew what it was about.
Well, thanks for letting me ask. I appreciate that.
No, thanks for asking.
Yeah. So thank you, David, for letting us know and being on Ask a Mormon.
Yeah, we appreciate you and sharing your insight and your personal journey. That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Jen and Jen.
Hey.
So, Jen, that was a really good interview with David.
I know he was just a really sweet person. I appreciate him sharing all of his perspective on his religion and his family, and I think that's really cool. I think that sharing, faith is something that we all probably could do a little bit more of right now. So I'm so glad he came on, and it's an honor to meet one of your longtime friends.
Oh, Jen, that's so sweet. I love that.
Of course. So how's the job hunting going?
Meh.
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 Did you pray for that when you were at the temple? Did you say, hey, temple, Help me out.
Honestly, it's an open house temple, so it was kind of like, no.
I know I did a video like, you know how people do videos for their kind of services that they're offering. So someone was offering one like, how would you get a job nowadays? You know, I was just like curious because I keep hearing from you and other people that like, you know, my brother, that like everyone's resumes go into a black hole kind of thing. And so it was a really interesting video and chat, but at the end there was a sales pitch and it was a little pricey. So
oh yeah, like $1,000, 900.
Yeah, it was almost like almost $1,000, and that, but it was considered to be almost a $7,000 value for what they were offering.
Gosh.
Right. And I was like, well, I mean, they had a good pitch. It was interesting, but
I think we're in the wrong market.
I think so too, because I was like, dang, like I could, you know, like they rewrite resumes and they rewrite your LinkedIn and all this stuff, and I was like, I could do this if I can get $2,000 when it's not on sale from, you know, a few people a day, like sweet. But it's just, it definitely sounds like everything's evolving, and that's kind of,
everybody's trying to make money. That's what it is.
Yeah, and the job market is weird right now, so, you know.
Another UXer friend of mine, she just told me she got laid off, and it's like now, like, this team, my old team from like 3-4 jobs ago, we're now all unemployed.
You all are?
Yeah. It's so sad.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is it just UX or is it more, it's just the way it is with technology right now? Or
I think it's more the way it is in technology. I'm not entirely sure if it's engineering or anything, but I'm just saying based on my feed, because I am a UXer, I see tons of that, like peers, like, oh, I lost a job, blah.
Oh gosh, that's hard.
Yeah, that's hard. But I do see a lot of recruiters losing their jobs too, and they're announcing on LinkedIn, like, thank you know, LinkedIn, Indeed for the X amount of years, and may new ventures come towards me or whatever. You know, it's tough.
Everything's in flux. It sounds like, yeah, that's. And if the headhunters don't have jobs, then how are people getting hired?
How are they recruiting? Exactly.
I don't know.
So it's sad. But anyways, how's wedding planning for you?
Wedding planning is going good. I am starting to look at making music choices. We're going to basically like Spotify DJ. We're not paying for a DJ. Not that DJs aren't cool. Like, I love DJs. I love live bands. But, you know, we're doing this on the cheap. And so I also want to look into like speakers and stuff like that. I know they have some at Costco that are like, you can wheel it in and has a microphone and it has lights. I definitely want lights. But we'll see. I might be getting a little too crazy. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now, is music entertainment.
Nice. And what is your burnout meter? Dead, exhausted, surviving, content, thriving.
Well, I think I'm content right now. I think that we had some time where I got to work remotely for a little bit, and that definitely helped with reducing my burnout meter. It made it positive because there's less time on the road. So how about yourself? How is your burnout meter going?
Today's adventure was great. Hanging out with David was fun. And I think I'm content right now.
Right at this moment?
Yeah, this moment.
Good for you.
Yeah, so celebrating. Yay!
How's your health scale going?
Not scare. Just kidding. I will have to say it's like a 6. I have a sore throat. Like,
do you have a lozenge again? Like, in your mouth?
Yeah.
Do you have a lump on your neck?
Yeah. Do you have any remedies?
Girl, you might need that. When I get those, it usually means I have strep, so you might need to get checked out.
I'm not thinking, like, where am I getting strep from? Like, it moved from my left side, and now it's in my right side.
Yeah, it's in your left. That's your lymph nodes, which is where, like, your white blood cells, I think, if I understand biology correctly. That's, they hang out there, and it means that there's some sort of infection. Have you got any fever or anything like that?
No.
Okay, well, who knows? You know, you could be allergic to something that's like in the air right now, or
fireworks.
There's a lot of smoke in the air, and they're actually saying that, like, for especially in California, they were saying that there's poor air quality right now following all of the 4th of July stuff. So maybe that's what's bugging you.
Yeah, and I really think so. Today, it's really agitated.
Oh, really?
And I think it's because of the fireworks.
And I'm sure chatting it up with your friend all day and then doing a podcast probably isn't helping your throat either.
Yeah. All right. So, Jen, tell me about your female health scale.
I think my health scale is probably about a 7 right now. Reading a new book that is for people who take GLP-1s or want to have a diet like that.
Mm-hmm.
And since I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which has now become PMOS,
Mm-hmm.
I'm insulin resistant. So to learn about insulin resistance, and that has been really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend from work, actually, she gave me the book, and she was such a sweetheart because she's like, I don't want to like push anything on you. And I'm not saying you need to lose weight, but I found this book and I know the doctor that wrote it. And I was like, girl, like, thank you. Thanks for thinking of me. So that's been cool. And, I'm just right now, I'm trying to focus on figuring out how to get sleep. That's been harder to do, even though I'm on HRT and I take progesterone at night, still my sleep sucks. So
Mm-hmm.
if I get sleep and like everything else, I think I'd be like Superwoman. But right now, just average Jen.
Well, we'll see next time how you feel. Maybe it's better.
Yeah, hopefully by then I'll actually get my new mattress because it's been delayed like 4 times. So
that's annoying.
It's annoying. Totally
definitely annoying. Jen, can you tell the besties where they can find us?
Of course, you can find us on Instagram, which is life.generally with a J. And you can also email us at lifegenerally@gmail.com. Or you can check out the podcast on Facebook. And that, if you just look up Life Generally Podcast, you'll find us there.
So, besties, if you want to support us financially, and I hope you do, you can buy us a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/lifegenerally with a J and donate some money to us. And you can find that on the show notes, as well as what Jen mentioned about where to find us, like the email, the Instagram, and the Facebook. And also, before we go, if you can't financially support us, you can actually like us or want to support us by subscribing or following us on our socials or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That will help us grow the audience. And also, if you would like, and we would love for you to do this for us, is tell your friends about us so we can grow the audience and, grow the community. And so that is
too.
Yeah, exactly. So future thank you for those who do. Kurt, no thank you if you don't.
Yeah, just spread the word. And if you can also comment on any of our podcasts, and that will help too. So please help spread the word because we love talking to our besties and we want to make more besties.
Yes, we love you, besties. So Jen, do you have any last words?
The only thing that pops in my head is like a correlation between this episode and the episode when I talked about the ice cream man, because this episode, you talk about the Mormon temple that looks like it's frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And now I really want ice cream. So
are you hearing wind chimes?
I am not hearing the wind chimes yet, and I haven't heard them recently, and I'm kind of bummed. Yeah, it might be on vacation. That's okay. Probably works hard. So yeah, I feel like it's an ice cream kind of day. Summertime is really kicking in. So, life's short. Enjoy a scoop if you can.
I honestly wish they made more ice cream songs on the radio.
I know.
That's my last words.
That's my last words. I also think I want to know I want to get an ice cream truck driver to ask, where do they choose their music from? This is obviously a thing. So, inquiring minds want to know.
Yes, please. If your friend is an ice cream guy, please let us know where he selects his music.
Yeah.
To bring out the children. No.
I know, it's so random. But, well, thanks, guys. It's been awesome having all our besties here and meeting one of Jen's original besties.
Until next time.
Jen squared.
Woo! Yay!
they killed your throat.